On Mother's Day, I received a card and my daughter made me read it out loud. Roses are red, violets are blue. You're a heavy burden. No one wants you here. Everyone laughed at me. My name is Grace. I'm 74 years old, and that was the worst humiliation of my life. It was Sunday morning. The sun was streaming through the living room windows when I arrived at my daughter Danielle's house to celebrate my day. I was wearing my favorite green dress, the one that always made me feel elegant. I had brought fresh flowers and sweet treats for my grandkids. "Grandma Grace," the little one shouted, running toward me. Their hugs filled my heart with joy. For a moment, everything seemed perfect. Michael, my son-in-law, barely greeted me with a quick, dry nod. Danielle came out of the kitchen with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Mom, so glad you made it. We have a special surprise for you." I sat on the sofa, surrounded by my family. The grandkids settled at my feet, full of anticipation. Danielle pulled a pink card from her purse and handed it to me. "It's from all of us, Mom. Read it out loud so everyone can hear." My hands trembled slightly as I opened the envelope. The card had little flower drawings the kids had made. How sweet, I thought. I started to read in a clear, excited voice. "Roses are red, violets are blue." My voice cracked. The next words hit me like punches. "You're a heavy burden. No one wants you here. Your time has passed. It's time for you to go. Signed, your family who can't stand you anymore." The silence was deafening for 3 eternal seconds. Then Michael started to laugh, a cruel, mocking laugh. Danielle covered her mouth, but I could see she was laughing too. Even the kids, not fully understanding, started to giggle because the adults were. "Did you see your face, Mom?" Danielle said between laughs. "You should have seen yourself, Michael. Did you get a picture?" My heart shattered. Tears began to roll down my wrinkled cheeks. The card fell from my trembling hands to the floor. "It's just a joke, Mom," Danielle continued, but there wasn't an ounce of remorse in her voice. "Don't take it so seriously. You've always been so dramatic." Michael walked over and picked up the card from the floor. "Yeah, Grace, we were just playing around. But, he paused uncomfortably. "Lately, you've been a bit too present. Maybe you should consider other options." "Other options?" I asked, my voice breaking. "Well, Danielle said, sitting in front of me. "There are some really good senior living communities for people your age, places where you can be with people like you. You'd be more comfortable." The word senior living rang in my head like a death sentence. My own children wanted to get rid of me like I was old junk. But I thought, my voice was barely a whisper, "I thought I was coming to celebrate Mother's Day with you." "And you are, Mom," Michael interjected in a condescending tone. "It's just time to be realistic. You're not young anymore. You need special care and we have our own lives." The grandkids looked at me confused. The oldest, barely 8 years old, came over and took my hand. "Grandma, why are you crying?" Before I could answer, Danielle pulled him away. "Come here, son. Grandma's fine. She's just being sentimental." I sat there feeling more alone than I had ever felt in my life. On the day that was supposed to celebrate my motherhood, my own daughter had publicly humiliated me, turning me into the family's cruel joke. I slowly got up, my legs shaking. I should just go." "Okay, Mom." Danielle didn't even stand up to say goodbye. "We'll call you later." I walked to the door with what dignity I had left, but inside, my world had completely fallen apart. That night, in my empty house, I cried until there were no more tears. But something had changed in me. The humiliation had awakened something that had been dormant for years. It was time for my family to learn the truth about who Grace really was. The next day, I blocked all of them. But first, I needed to remember how I had arrived at such a painful moment. I sat in my favorite armchair, the same one that I had nursed Danielle 45 years ago, and let the memories flow like a movie in my mind. It all started when I was 29 years old. Danielle's father abandoned us when she was only 3. One morning, he simply wasn't there. He left a note on the kitchen table. "I can't do this life. I'm sorry." He didn't even say goodbye to his daughter. I remember that night holding Danielle as she cried, asking for her dad. "Daddy had to go far away, my love," I whispered, promising myself that she would never go without anything. And I kept that promise. I worked double shifts at the textile mill for 15 years. My hands were full of calluses from sewing uniforms late into the night. Every extra cent I saved for Danielle's education. When she was 17 and wanted to study nursing, I sold my mother's jewelry. It was the only valuable thing I owned, but I saw the bright eyes of my daughter talking about her dream, and I didn't hesitate for a second. "Mommy, are you sure?" She asked me that day. "Completely sure." "My love, your education is the most important thing." During her 5 years of university, I worked weekends cleaning offices. I would come home with a wrecked back, but when I saw Danielle studying at the dining room table, it was all worth it. The day of her graduation, I cried with pride. "We did it, Mommy," she said, hugging me tight. "This wouldn't have been possible without you." Later, she met Michael. At first, I liked him. He was polite, hardworking, and seemed to genuinely love her. When they got married, I paid half the wedding. It was $12,000 that I had saved for years, but I wanted my daughter to have the wedding of her dreams. "Mom, this is too much," Danielle protested when I handed her the check. "Nonsense," I said, smiling. "It's the most important day of your life. You deserve it." When they bought their first home, I gave them the down payment, $25,000. It was all I had saved, but seeing them happy in their new home filled me with satisfaction. Then the grandkids arrived, 2 beautiful little ones who became the light of my life. When Danielle returned to work after her maternity leave, I became their free babysitter. Every day for 3 years, I walked 6 blocks to their house at 6 in the morning. I made the kids breakfast, dressed them, took them to the park, fed them, bathed them, and read them stories. When Danielle came home from work, the house was clean and the children were happy. "I don't know what we'd do without you, Mom," Danielle used to tell me in those days. "You're an angel." But gradually, something changed. The thank yous became less frequent. My opinions about the kids started to be considered as interference. When I suggested that the youngest needed to see the pediatrician for his persistent cough, Michael told me, "Grace, were the parents here?" The first time they spoke to me like this, I stayed quiet. I thought maybe I had been too nosy. Then the subtle comment started. "Mom, you don't have the energy you used to for watching the kids." "Grace, I think you got the kids' vitamins confused again. Maybe you should rest more at home." But I kept going every day. I kept helping. I kept giving my all. 2 years ago, when Michael lost his job, I started giving them $500 a month so they wouldn't lose the house. "It's just temporary," they said, "just until Michael finds something better." Michael found a new job 6 months later, but they never told me to stop sending the money. They just kept receiving it as if it was their right. When the kids needed new computers for school, I paid $2,000 without being asked. When Danielle's car broke down, I gave them $4,000 for the repairs. When they wanted to remodel the kitchen, I contributed $8,000. Little by little, I became the silent provider, the one who was always there to solve their financial problems, but who was no longer invited to important family decisions. A year ago, Danielle organized a family dinner for Michael's birthday. I found out by chance when one of my grandkids mentioned the secret party they had. "Why didn't you invite me?" I asked Danielle over the phone. "Oh, Mom, it was a really small thing, just the 4 of us. We thought you'd be bored." But I saw the photos on social media. There were 20 people. Michael's relatives, whom I knew well. Everyone had been invited except me. That night, I cried in silence, but I told myself it must have been an oversight. Oversights became a routine. They forgot to call me on my birthday. They canceled our lunch dates.
When I showed up unannounced, they were always seemed annoyed by the interruption. But the final straw came 3 months ago. I was at their house helping with dinner when I overheard Michael talking on the phone on the patio. Yeah, my mother-in-law lives alone. She's getting really dependent. No, she's not sick, but you know how they are at that age. Yes, we're looking at options to move her to a proper place. I froze behind the door. My own son-in-law was planning to get rid of me like I was old furniture. That night, I couldn't sleep. I had given my whole life, all my money, all my love to this family, and now I was just an obstacle they wanted to get rid of. But they didn't know something very important about me, something I had kept secret for decades. My mother, before she died, had told me about a family property in Nassau, Bahamas that I inherited when I turned 70.